Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5. I thought I'd tell you about an interesting um, thing that happened to me while I was on my spring break, which really wasn't a spring break in the sense that I got a whole week off. I had to work 4 10-hour days to get Friday off, so I was off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Took my friend Daniel to the coast to go fishing. Didn't catch anything. Took some good pictures though. Um, and we went to Galveston, and uh, we went to the academy, went to Specs, and we decided to eat at Golden Corral, which is not my favorite restaurant. It's an okay restaurant. I actually prefer the restaurant at Galveston called Willie G's. It's a really nice seafood restaurant. But he said, let's go to Golden Corral. I was like, all right, let's go to Golden Corral. Um, Sat down at the table that we selected, and the waitress comes up and says, hello, my name is Anastasia, and she gives us a card with her name written on it, which I thought was weird. I never seen anybody do that at Golden Corral before. And I noticed she had a slight accent, um, and it was, you could tell it wasn't like very very thick when she introduced herself. I guess it's because she says that a lot, but I could tell that she was not from here, not from Galveston at least. I talked to Daniel after she left. I was like, hey, her name's Anastasia. I can't say that name correctly, Anastasia, and I know she has a slight accent. I'm pretty sure she's Russian. And he's like, yeah, I kind of caught the accent too. And I said, I wanna speak a little Russian and see what happens. So she came up to give us refills on the on our tea, and I said spasiba, which is thank you in Russian. And her eyebrows kind of moved up a little bit, and she said thank you in Russian, and she said you're welcome, and she said you speak Russian, and I said I speak a little bit of Russian, just enough to get into trouble. And she says, what all do you know? And I misunderstood, or not that I misunderstood what she said, but I misunderstood what she meant. I said, well, I know a little bit of Russian, a little bit of German, a little bit of Spanish. And she's like, no, what Russian do you know? I was like, hang on one second. Привет, как дела? Меня зовут Austin Culbertson. Daniel, как тебя зовут? And I proceeded to have a phrase that I know pretty well in Russian, and it was weird because she went from like that, her jaw literally dropped. And after I got finished saying what I said, I got really concerned. I thought I might have mispronounced something and accidentally cursed her out. And I said, I'm sorry, did I mispronounce something? She said, no, no one's ever spoke to me in Russian that well before in the States. So she was really impressed. And she would come by to refill her drinks and stuff, and she would ask, where did you learn Russian? Why did you learn Russian? And I told her, well, I had a Russian friend, and my brother also went to Russia on a mission trip. And she was like, well, where did he go? And I said, St. Petersburg. And she's like, oh, I love St. Petersburg. The architecture is awesome. I said, yeah, my brother showed me some pictures of the Church of Spilled Blood. And, he said it was awesome over there as well. And I saw the pictures. And right before we left, and this whole time when she was bringing stuff to us, I'd say spasiba, da, niet, and when she asked me a question, I'd be like, da, which is yes, niet, which is no. And she spoke a little bit of stuff that I didn't quite understand, and I had to stop her. I was like, hey, keep in mind, I know just a little bit of Russian, just enough to get me in trouble. She's like, I'm keeping it in mind. And so I didn't know quite everything she was saying, but I got the general idea. And before I left, I said, well, I think we're fixing to head out. Das vidanya, which is goodbye. And she said, well, you keep studying Russian, you'll impress a lot of people. And it was just such a good experience. Um, in Texas, we don't have like a huge Russian population. I've met 3 Russians while living in Texas in a course of 26 years. I met my Russian friend from high school, a girl, his girlfriend or his date to the prom, and this girl in Galveston. And the whole point behind this video is basically, try learning a different language. My problem with language learning is I try to learn many different languages all at once. Spanish, Russian, German, a little bit of Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. I'm very ADHD when it comes to learning languages. And I can introduce myself in several different languages. I can order drinks in several different languages. I can count to 10 in Japanese, and I know hello, konnichiwa. And I know some knife terminology in Japanese, but I never just stuck to one language and learnt it. But yes, I hear people on TV, like protesters, saying, we're in America, we speak American. Well, first off, you speak English, which isn't really a strictly English language or American language. It's a mixture of Latin and Germanic and different stuff. Yeah, I'd encourage you to try to learn a few simple phrases and a language of your choice. Preferably one that will suit you in the environment you live in. Like if you live in Louisiana, it might help if you learn a little bit of French. If you're in San Francisco, maybe a little bit of Chinese, Southern California Spanish, Southwest America Spanish. Come to think of it, Spanish is a very useful language in America. And I'm not saying that everybody should learn American. Hang on to your native tongue, but I encourage you to learn English as well. But it's a good way to meet people. It's a good way to connect with people. And if I didn't know Russian and I just had a simple conversation with her, I kept it really formal and to the point. I wouldn't have the discussion with this woman. I might have asked where she was from, and she'd be like, Russia, and I'll be like, oh, Russia, cool. But, it wouldn't have been as good of a conversation, and it wouldn't have been as interesting. And I'm pretty sure by her facial expression, and she was smiling when she did that, but I'm pretty sure that it made all day, knowing that, someone took the time to engage her in our own language. So that's pretty much the point of the video. Learn a different language and make friends. I know a little bit of Spanish, and when I was working in retail, I spoke very little Spanish to Spanish customers because I didn't want to give them false hope that I could be able to help them buy something. But I would speak a little bit, uno momento. I can't remember how to say wait here in Spanish. It's something aquí. But I'll go to one of my bilingual Hispanic co-workers, and I'll get them to translate for me. But if I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing, if it's just going to be introductions, I'll go ahead and introduce myself in Spanish or German or Russian, and I'll engage a conversation that is much more meaningful than, oh, you're from Russia. Well, that's cool. So that's it. Someday I might buy Rosetta Stone and actually learn a language legitimately. I always tell people when I'm talking about language that I can introduce myself in many different languages, but I'm not fluent in any of them, including English. Living in East Texas, we speak a lot of slang, and we don't always speak proper English. which is, odd. I mean, what's not odd is common, but, it's funny how the English language changes from the Southern America, North America, or the American South, or North, the American North, East Coast, West Coast, England, Scotland, Ireland, Australia. The slang is so different. So they're almost different languages. And I've heard some stories about that subject before too, but I'm not going to get into them right now. But yeah, I had a good conversation with this Russian chick in Galveston at a Golden Corral. It was a good experience. So I would encourage you to at least learn how to introduce yourself, say things that, yes, no, my name is, I would like some, whatever your beverage of choice, beer, tea, Coke, and you'll impress people. This girl, I guarantee you, had no clue that someone was going to speak Russian to her that day. And I've always wanted to learn a language to the point where I'll come across some ethnicity that speaks a different language, and they'll start maybe say something about me, like, oh, look at that guy over there, or, he looks silly, and then I could be like, in whatever language that is, I'll be like, I look silly? Really? How? And just catch them off guard is like, wow, this guy can speak our language, which I have some funny stories about that. Let's see, I have a little bit of time. I knew this guy who spoke every dialect of Spanish. He knew a little bit of French, and he spoke a little bit of Latin, but any Spanish dialect he could speak. And him and other friend, a mutual friend, went to a pawn shop, and there was these two Hispanic girls, and they were talking back and forth in Spanish, and one of our mutual friend who didn't speak Spanish said, "Hey, are they talking about me?" And they kind of smiled, and then he kind of goes, and he just starts speaking fluent Spanish, and the two girls had a really nervous look on their face. I am told, like they were shocked. It's just interesting, fun stuff like that. Don't limit yourself by saying, I speak American, we're in America, we speak American, everybody should learn my language. Make the effort to make friends with other people. That's how I think of it. If I could learn a different language that lends me to make a friend with someone else that I wouldn't be able to engage otherwise, I'd like to. You could always use more friends. I'll leave it at that. So that's it. I'm Satsu5, and I'm out.